Patrick, thanks for joining. Shall we kick things off with just a bit about your background and like what led you to this problem as being one that you want to spend the next long time on?
Absolutely. Yeah, my background is 10, 12 years now designing and launching new electric vehicles. That's 5 years with Tesla in the US in their design studio, part of a very small team taking a brand new product from blank sheet of paper through to engineering feasibility and product feasibility. So that's blending user experience, design, ergonomics, engineering, and then moving that through with the engineering team. Loved it, loved the US, loved Tesla, but then moved back to the UK and joined what became a rival. My role there was effectively growing into become VP of product. It's responsible for the products we're designing, our commercial vehicle programs, launching them internally with our teams cross-functionally, and then managing the relationships with our largest customers, so Amazon, UPS, DPD, like what are they trying to do strategically and how do we give them the right products? And amazing, I've been lucky to compress a lot of learning into 10 years, I would say, with these two businesses. But a few frustrations. Transportation is very well funded, gets a lot of good climate tech money, and yet is a bit of an outlier in our economy. It's decarbonizing 3 times more slowly than anything else. And I think myself and my co-founders have been lucky enough to know and see successes and failures of launching tech ground up from startups and large organizations. Really, we see that we need to go make a big impact. We need to go and solve huge problems that have a massive global scale, and we need to deliver those businesses in a way that has meaningful impact for shareholders, customers, very quickly. So fundamentally, the problem we're solving is that as consumers, we all know this, our expectation and demand for e-commerce and last mile has just blown up over the past 10 years. Post-pandemic, it's 60% increase in the number of packages being delivered, 60% more of those being delivered next day and same day. But the models behind that, supporting that demand, very out of date and have not kept up. So huge global problem that affects every city in the world. And interesting enough, why this problem for us? It is because ultimately this needs disruptive hardware, software, data analytics, disruptive commercial models. And that intersection, like that's what really excites us. That's what we love. And it leads into solving some very big problems for us.
Yeah, so totally believe in the problem. And, it's great that smart people are working on this. How can you build something that's really differentiated and that, it is a lot better than the alternatives? Because, I can see that people are hacking. You see it on the street all the time now. People are sort of almost hacking together some batteries and sort of bike trailers and delivering stuff using them. Like what's the secret sauce that you can build into both your hardware and also the software layer on which you're actually building these fleets, from what I can see?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's been, I think, commercial operators have gone through a journey in the past 5 years. Firstly, they realized that electrifying vans is not the solution, right? It's a solution, but it's one part. They've had time to evaluate the use of micro hubs and micromobility. They understand now that this is a 90% CO2 reduction per package, 10x reduction in capex, energy consumption, etc. Huge problem. And I think, but it's very, very niche so far, fundamentally. That's the opportunity for us. So when you're launching a commercial vehicle, which is going to be frankly abused by a driver day in, day out, fleets need to elevate commercial micromobility to the same level of maturity, engineering, supply chain, after sales consideration that they'd expect from a van from an automotive manufacturer. That is a high bar. That's our experience. So our engineering process and how we set targets for customers and the technology that we've created ourselves gives us 250 plus insights across the vehicle. So we can solve the hardware very, very well, actually. The biggest challenge here for fleets is once they start to see that, okay, how do you then unblock the market adoption post that? Right? And that's where we have to go and lean into our relationship with these large logistics operators, very largely bureaucratic companies, and help solve how do they deploy real estate, how do they make good decisions, and then how do they elevate consistent good data across cargo bikes, mopeds, scooters, vans, whatever it might be. So it's really our engineering experience on launching vehicles is step number one, but then it's just understanding what a customer's trying to do to launch.
Yeah, this is just something that came into my head, and it'll come across as a little bit of a pointed question, but hardware is really hard, right? And it seems like a lot of the value in this solution is the software. So like, why do both? Like, why put yourself through that painful hardware manufacturing process when you could let other people do that?
You could. I think it comes down to impact over time. I think about Tesla solving supercharging network, right? They probably never set out to do that, but that's something they had to go and solve to make sure that consumers can keep feeding that pipeline. And we see the same thing for micro hubs and for software. Ultimately, what we've created is not only the most exceptional hardware on commercial vehicles, commercial micromobility vehicles, but a really powerful tech stack within that means that fleets can get the most value out of those. We want to then take that and put it into as many vehicles as possible, because if they can get truly powerful predictive maintenance, vehicle and fleet level data from our vehicles, we want them to get the same thing from other vehicles. And then naturally through that process, we want to be able to solve problems for customers, whether it's better hardware or better software. And ultimately, the approach for us is it's not to do everything. This is an open ecosystem approach. So each of our products, so vehicles, operating software, telemetry, and microbes operate very well together as an ecosystem. But every team, every fleet can use their own fleet management software, but get more data from us, or they can use our vehicles or microbes. So I think that's an approach for us really, is to make sure that we're not coming in to say, you have to buy our vehicles to get our software. Naturally, through the power we can offer through better operational efficiency, we think that our software will become a very important part.
Yeah. And what are we talking about here in terms of the hardware and the micro hubs that you mentioned? So I think I saw some really cool concepts on your website. Maybe they're real, but tell us a bit about the vehicles and about what a micro hub is.
Yeah, absolutely. The take a step back, the existing last mile model fundamentally works by, we have 4 million vans on the roads globally. Most of those, 90%, are going to cities. Here in London is a good example. Amazon will drive 600 vans a day from outside of London with packages, drive an hour, start delivering in the city centre where speeds are 10 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour, dropping off directly to consumers, and then the vehicle's driving back out again. So hugely inefficient model. The only way to increase capacity is to put more vehicles on the road. What fleets are trying to do is move the fulfillment points from outside the city to very close to where the density is. You can then bring in packages any time of day in a more cost-effective way. And then we're using, so that is a micro hub. Micro hub could be 6 car parking spaces in a multi-story car park, or it could be a large industrial unit in a city. And that gives customers the ability to optimize a blend of cargo bikes, mopeds, or vans, and that blend will change per customer and per density and what they're delivering. So basically, we're giving them fulfillment very close to consumers, so they can then use lightweight, low-cost, scalable vehicles that are contained in a city. The first product to go and solve in terms of the hardware is electric cargo bikes. They are one of the most cost-effective, energy-efficient ways to move things around cities. But fundamentally, the reason we started this business is because customers can't get the products they need in the reliability and the scale they need. But there'll be other products that follow as well.
And how will you how will you build these cheaply enough? You know, I can imagine there are huge economies of scale with this kind of manufacturing. So when day one, how do you manage that, or is it just extremely capital intensive?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No, we've kind of solved, again, our experience is designing fighter jets, electric vans, cars, where your program is run by how well you plan your capital. For us, we've set out from day one strategically, how do we launch a super capital efficient product? For a few reasons. One, we want to keep the pre-revenue capital low, but we want to be able to iterate the product rapidly. We're going to put a product out, test it, break it, fix it. So we use very low investment manufacturing processes. So our bill of materials is industry leading already, 45% gross margin. And then we bring in a manufacturing partnership. We've got a manufacturing partnership with a team in India. We'll have one in India, one in Portugal, primarily, really to unlock the unit economics you've mentioned, not just in the Western market, but with also other regions as well. And then we're selling our technologies into other manufacturers as well. So that's how we turn on the unit economics. But we've already solved 5-year warranty, 10-year life cycle of a vehicle with industry-leading unit economics. So I think the proof is in what we've done already, and obviously scalability helps that.
Yeah, awesome. Tell us a bit more about the traction. So you've solved some of these problems already. Like where are you at progress-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched the business, launched Minimal just over a year ago now. So July last year, 2023. Really, our biggest focus has been, can we go and solve the product proposition? Can customers come in and go, wow, if you deliver that TCO, that bill of materials costs, that feature set, this helps me scale. So we've done that, iterated the vehicle platform a number of times, put that back in front of customers, so some of the leading operators here in the UK and in the US, for them to say this meets their inflection point. And then we built out the tech stack. So this is IoT, advanced telemetry, predictive maintenance, proper data analytics, and a software platform. So we built that full stack out, iterated it really closely with customers here in the UK, a combination of small cargo bike operators and then large global manufacturers. So very strong proposition behind the product now. We're now moving into commercial discussions and trials. So we'll put our vehicles on road in January next year, so just a few months away. We'll now be launching our first micro hub with a partner here in London to give some of the largest fleets in the UK the ability to launch EVs and micro mobility in London. And then we start turning on our IoT and our software stack with customers next year. So really, the strategy here for us is get the product out very fast, because customers are waiting. They're waiting to say, I can scale if I have a product I can trust. We have that product, and now so we go to market very quickly in mid next year.
It's exciting. So there are different approaches you could take, right? You can sell your hardware and software to existing like 3PLs or whatever, or you can be a 3PL, or you could just sell the software or just the hardware. Like where's your thinking at the moment?
Yeah, exactly. Look, we're not here to be an operator. Deliver operations, you need to live and breathe and love operations, right? There are teams that are very good at that. We've got some great startups here in the UK and scale-ups, Hive and Packfleet and others that are moving in the space and disrupting. That's not us. What we want to do is give them the ability to do what they want to do very, very well, help them scale and optimize and decarbonize as quickly as possible. That's why we have this ecosystem of hardware, software, and real estate. Again, your point is very important. Different customers will have different constraints. Some will be fully embedded with a fleet management software they want to keep using. We'll just give them better data, or they can use our vehicles or our hardware. So I think what our approach here has always been have a broad range of vehicles, because Royal Mail need a very different product to Amazon. So we solve that scalability from day one, and then give them the ecosystem of offerings. But ultimately, to your point, what we do best is disruptive hardware, software, and making our customers' problems, solve problems for our customers. It's not to be an operator.
That's cool. Yeah, I like the approach. And in terms of the fundraise, how much are you raising?
So we've raised 1.4 so far. We've been fortunate enough to bring on some amazing angels across the logistics and last mile space and many others. And now we're raising a 3 million round, 3 million or above. Now that we've got strong commercial validation, unit economics validation, go to market, now we're raising 3 million price round. Purpose of that round really takes us through to revenue, launches micro hubs, vehicles, and our full tech stack next year in London. And then forecast for us basically would then raise on the back of many binding orders next year. We'll re-raise working capital for launch, combination of equity and debt financing.
Awesome, Patrick, that's fantastic. And I'd recommend anyone listening goes and have a look, has a look at the website. I think it's minimalx.com.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And it's a really, really cool product. So you won't be wasting your time.
Thanks, Hector. Really appreciate it.